employment, and in this employment also there are two sectors which are really important, which is formal and informal. So we'll be seeing that what is the problem of employment and the growth of formal and informal employment in our country. So let's first have a look at what is the meaning of employment. Employment simply means that there are people who are engaged in different work. Okay, and against these work that they do in the organization or institutions, they get paid. Okay. So we see that around us also there are many people who are engaged in some or the other work. Okay, you can call them as labor, salesman, cashier, telecaller, engineer, teacher, doctor, advocate, CA. Okay, these all are the workers who are engaged in some or the other sort of employment. There can be typology of employment. Okay, like some people are self-employed. Okay, some people are doing business. Okay, but then also they are doing some work. Some people are doing jobs in various companies. Okay, so they are also counted under employment. Okay, so we see various people who are engaged in different sort of work. Now the question comes is, why do people work? So the answer is very simple. Why do people work is the red one you can see. This is the basic reason why do people work. Okay, because people wants to meet their own requirement. People want to meet their own requirement that for their consumption. Okay, they are having certain basic needs, so they need to fulfill those needs, and that's why they people work. But then these basic needs can be fulfilled by the work, and they can achieve it in in a very very quick session. But then also people work, and they work with sheer dedication and even full of honesty, and they work really hard. So they work really hard, not just to not just to survive or not just to earn their bread and butter, but then there is one more thing, which is a sense of accomplishment. For this reason also people work. Okay, for the sense of accomplishment. Means there are people who are doing tremendous work, or they are doing really really good work in their field. Okay, it is not just the reason that they are fulfilling their basic requirements, but then the work has been identified and they are getting status, they are getting self recognition also from that work. This is also the reason the people work. So people are not just working to earn money, but they are also working to get satisfaction, to be recognized in the society. For that reason also people are working. Okay. But here we will not talk about this accomplishment. We'll simply talk about the people who are engaged in work. Reason can be anything. Okay, the reason can be personal. Some people are working for to meet their consumption level. Some people are working for their own satisfaction. Some people are working as a hobby because they like it. Some people are working to get some recognition. Some people want to be remembered even after their death, and this is why they are working. So these can be the personal reason. But from the point of view of economics, we will see that how many people are engaged in work and they are getting a minimum level of minimum level of earning. Okay, so this is what we are going to study here in this chapter. So these are the basic things that which we will learn, that who is a worker, who are included in workers, and who are not included in workers. So the first thing is who are included in workers. So all the people who are self-employed, they are not doing job under anyone, but still they are working. Okay, they are not being hired by anyone, they are doing their own work, freelance. These are self-employed people, like shopkeepers, like barbers, like cobblers, even like doctors. There are many doctors who are self-employed, like farmers, they are self-employed. There are many CAs who are doing independent practice, freelance practice, they are self-employed. There are many artists and poets who are not working under anyone, but they are creating their own stuffs, they are selling it, they are making money out of it. So they all are self-employed. So self-employed people are also included in workers. Then there are temporary workers who are getting work, and for some time, sometimes they are not getting the work, or there can be a reason that since they are ill, so they are not able to work. If they got any injury or physical disability, this is the reason they are not able to work. Okay, so they were working, but because of some reasons they are not able to work now, so they are temporarily workers. Then there are helping workers who are supporting. Okay, there are main workers and there are people who are supporting those workers, so they are helping workers. Okay, you can count housewives in this segment. Okay, although economics does not consider or does not take the work of housewives into the account, but it does not mean that economics does not acknowledge their work. So they are counting them as the helping workers. For example, a typical structure of our Indian family is, typical structure I'm talking about, the structure is changing, but then typical structure is that husband is doing job, wife is taking care of home and kids. Okay, so husband is doing job and he is contributing in economy, as in his income is counted in the national income. It's treated under national income as a productive activity. But the wife is also working equally hard at home, taking care of children, preparing food, okay, or cleaning of house, and there are lot many things which are doing, which the housewife is doing. So housewife is indirectly supporting this worker, is able to work. Reason being, housewife is helping her in many things, like housewife is preparing food for him, he is getting good food, he is with good health, that's why he is able to work more. So then housewives are considered as the helping workers. Okay, we can. But then the problem with the national incomes accounting of India or even of the world, that we have no instrument to to measure the work of housewives. This is the reason economics is not able to consider the work. But then when it comes to acknowledging the work of housewives, then we do, but not in terms of not in quantitative terms. Okay, not in numerics, but then it is important and playing a good role in our economy. Okay, then who are not included in workers? Okay, so women are not categorized as workers, as they are not paid wages, and cash leads to non-recognition of women's work. Here actually women means the housewives. Okay, as I was discussing earlier. Okay, so helping workers, at least they should be counted, but again the problem is the problem with the measurement. So women who are working in house as a housewives, their work is not categorized, as they are not being paid wages against it, and we even cannot decide wages also, because a mother's wages cannot be decided. Okay, otherwise there will be no difference between a mother and a homemaid. Okay, so mother's work cannot be, we cannot measure it in terms of money. Okay, so this is why it is not been considered. But although if it is not been considered, it's not if it is not considered, then GDP is not everything that we have. Okay, there are certain things which are above GDP, so we need not to worry much about it. Okay, so it is underestimation of the number of women workers in the country. Okay, so number of women workers, when we see, then we usually find that number of women workers in the country is less, because when we measure it through the market transaction. But when we see housewives working in the home, then obviously the number is big. Okay, but you will always find in the data that women workers are less. They are less because there are many women who are working at house, and their work is not been considered in the counting. Okay. Now women should also be called workers. Okay, there are economists who are economists like me also, and probably like you also, though not economists, but then the people who understand economics, yes, of course it should be counted, but then the problem is with the measurement. We do not have instrument to measure. Okay, so this is the limitation of economics that we can say. Now, how much is the salary of a woman? See, so many works that the women is doing, so how much you will decide? So it's very difficult to decide the salary of a woman who is taking care of house. Okay, so he's actually doing all these things. She's teaching to child, she's cook at house, she is even driving, she is even working, she's gardening, she's taking care of child, she's there are a lot many things. Okay, so how much salary you'll decide for this 24/7 job? Now why studying of workforce is required? Okay, why do we need to study this workforce? So to know the quality and nature of the employment. Second is helps in understanding and planning our human resource. We have got human resource, but then we need to understand that this human resource has to be, this human power that we are having has to be channelized. Okay, so that we can convert it into the productive into output, or engaging them in some sort of productive activities. Understand social issues such as exploitation of marginalized section of the society, child labor, etc. So when we study, we are able to identify all these things. Okay. Now the number of people actively engaged in various economic activities in India. Okay, so let's see the facts about this. So employment in this we consider it as male and female. Okay, because this is demographic division. So we will be studying various facts about it. So we have actually categorized them into male and female and rural and urban. So all the workers we have categorized into male and female and rural and urban workers. Okay, so we'll see various data about it. So when we talk about male and female employment, this data is as per the census 2011, and it is also given in the NCERT. Okay, so we have taken it from there only. So employment status by gender, when we see, then see the number of workers. When we see total workers, okay, India's total workforce is 473 million. Okay, means 47.3 crore people are the total workforce. So are you getting it? In India, we have around, like in 2011-12, we were around 130 crore people. Okay, around 130, it was around 125 crore, I guess, as per 2011. So 125 crore people. Out of this, 47.3 crore people is India's workforce. Okay, and remaining ones are not engaged in, are not considered as workers, as they are not engaged in any market activity. Okay, so they were not been considered. Okay, so they were either kids or the dependents and old people, or even there are many women also, because women's ratio here is only 30%. But we have said why it is 30%, because there are many women who are working as housewives or who are homemaker, and they are not been, they are excluded from this data. This is why this ratio is 30%. And then there are many social constraints also. Because of that also, women worker are less in our country. Okay, this data you can see. Right. So this was about male and female workers that we have in our country. Then employment status by region. Okay, so we'll see rural and urban. So rural workers are 75% of workers are in rural areas, whereas in urban areas we see there are 25%. Now, why this difference is there? Why we have more workers in rural areas and less workers in urban areas? If you can answer.
Areas employ more workers than required.
Come again.
So the population ratio in the rural areas is very high, and the condition of them is very poor. So each family worker works in the village for even for the small work also.
Exactly. Okay, so these are the two important reasons. One is most of the population is living in rural areas. So obviously rural area will have more workers because the population living in rural areas is more. And second thing, since there is poverty, or they are having, they are low income people, so they need to work. So most of their family members are engaged in work, some sort of work, or most of them are engaged in agriculture. Okay, so in agriculture, we already see that there are a number of people who are working. Okay, and they are also, then people working in agriculture are also considered as self-employed people. Okay, so this is the reason we are having more workers in rural areas. Okay, so this is the ratio, that 75% of workers are in rural areas, whereas 25% workers are in urban areas. So this is the division. Now, why participation of people in employment in rural areas is more than in urban areas? Okay, this we have already got the reasons. Two reasons is, okay. Now, one reason is limited resources. people in rural areas, they are having limited resources. Okay, since their income is low, okay, because resources to earn higher income, they need to earn higher income, so then they need to work more. Okay, or number of people from the family also have to work. Okay, lack of education is there, so they have to engage themselves, because this, the reason why I find this, although now, a lot of awareness programs are going on, but then the reason of their low education is because they have to support to the family. And this is why also sometimes the children, the young children, they have to leave their education in between, and they have to find some work to support the family. So this also sometimes happens. Okay, so this is also the reason that they are engaged more in the work. Obviously, their poor economic condition is one of the reason. Okay, and the one reason was that, as Samriddhi was saying, that the population of rural areas, more population is living in rural areas. This is why we have this. Okay. Now, for urban areas, there are more employment opportunities. Okay, because more employment opportunity, more number of business firms are there, more number of companies are there, factories are there. Okay, many schools are there, hospitals are there. So obviously urban areas are generating more employment. Okay, the education is even better, and even when we look at the economic condition, then it is also, that is also better in urban areas as compared to the rural areas. Now let's talk about participation. Okay, this this concept is really important. Worker population ratio. You just mark it as asterisk. This question may come in the exam. What do you mean by worker population ratio? So it has got a formula. That formula says the total number of workers that we see in the country divided by population, and we got worker population ratio, that is WPR. Okay, this we will be getting in percentage when we multiply it by 100. Okay, and population is what? Population is defined as the number of people who are living in a particular domestic territory or geographical territory. Okay, at a point of time, as we say that population is stock concept. Although it was not needed to define, but then also. Now, advantages of worker population ratio. Okay, if the worker population ratio is higher, it means more number of people are engaged in work. Okay, more number of people are engaged in some sort of work, so it should be higher. If WPR is higher, then it shows the economic growth of the country. Okay, so it is one of the good indicator. If the WPR is higher, is a good indicator for GDP also and for growth also. Okay, and if it is low, then it calls that there will be a lower growth, or it will be called termed as the backwardness of the economy if worker population ratio is lesser. So all of our programs are to increase the worker population ratio. इसी के लिए हम लोग काम कर रहे हैं. हम लोग मतलब we along with the government. Distribution of employment. So region wise we can distribute them: self-employed and regular workers and casual workers. These are the three. Sector wise we can distribute primary sectors, secondary sector and tertiary sector. Okay, so we will see a lot of facts and figures in this chapter. Okay, sector wise कितना percentage, it's all given in the NCERT. Although इधर एक suggestion ये है कि do get the new NCERT. The PDF is available on internet, I guess. So उसमें नए आपके पास में आंकड़े आप लोगों को मिल जाएंगे, है ना, नए facts मिल जाएंगे. So use them for examination. Now, employment status by category of employment. So we have got regular employees, self-employed, and we have casual workers. Now see, regular employees are regularly who are getting salaries. Monthly they are getting salary. For example, I am termed as regular employee as I am working in a school. Okay, self-employed कब हो जाएगा? जब somebody is working on his own, खुद का, जैसे खुद की एक शॉप है. मेरी अगर एक शॉप है तो आई एम सेल्फ एम्प्लॉयड पर्सन. ठीक है, मैं किसी के अंडर में काम नहीं कर रहा, मैंने अपना काम खुद जनरेट किया. आई एम सेल्फ एम्प्लॉयड. All the business units, agriculture, people working in agriculture, है ना, sometimes even we see electrician or plumber, they are also self-employed. किसी के अंडर काम नहीं कर रहे हैं, खुद का काम जनरेट किया. ठीक है. Casual workers, the problem with casual worker is that they are hired on the daily basis. एवरी डे दे हैव टू बोलते ना एवरी डे खड्डा खोदना होता है और खुद पानी निकालना होता है, ठीक है, तो खोदो पानी निकालो पियो. So it is like they are not being hired by anyone. There is no contract or no agreement between employer and employee. ठीक है. So every day they have to find work for them. They earn money and then they get back to home. उनका कोई बॉस नहीं है, लेकिन कोई फिक्स वर्क भी नहीं. सो कैजुअल वर्कर्स वाला जो है ये थोड़ा सा इंडिया के अंदर प्रॉब्लम है ना, बिकॉज ज्यादातर जब हम लोग पुअर पीपल की बात करते हैं तो वी फाइंड देम दैट कैजुअल वर्कर की कैटेगरी में वो ज्यादा आते हैं, बिकॉज दे डू नॉट हैव एनी परमानेंट जॉब फॉर देमसेल्व्स. ओके, आप लोगों को मैं हिंट देता हूँ ऐसा है ना, फॉर द पीपल हु आर लिविंग इन चित्तौड़गढ़ दे विल फाइंड दैट रेलवे फाटक के पास में मॉर्निंग में 6 बजे के आसपास बहुत सारे लोग इकट्ठे हो जाते हैं, है ना. और जिन किसी को लेबर की जरूरत होती है ना, जैसे किसी के घर में कोई काम चल रहा है ना, कहीं कुछ भी थोड़ा बहुत छोटा मोटा काम करना है रिलेटेड टू कंस्ट्रक्शन या रेनोवेशन या किसी भी तरह के लेबर की जरूरत पड़ती है, तो वहां से फिर वो बात आता है और वहां से लेबर हायर करता है और वो लेकर जाता है. ठीक है, तो ये कैजुअल वर्कर्स हो गए हमारे, है ना. तो ऑल दिस डेली वेज लेबरर्स आर एक्चुअली दी कैजुअल वर्कर्स.
सर
यस यस आस्क.
अगर कोई डॉक्टर है वो हॉस्पिटल में भी सर्विसेज दे रहा है बट उसका खुद का क्लिनिक भी है, तो वो किस में आएगा?
देखो उसमें होता है ऐसा कि उसके लिए हम 2 तरह से उसकी इनकम की काउंटिंग करते हैं, नेशनल इनकम. एक तो वो रेगुलर सैलरीड एम्प्लॉय कहलाता है ना, और वो जो खुद के घर पे क्लिनिक चला रहा है उससे जब वो पैसा अर्न करता है तो उसको हम मिक्स्ड इनकम में काउंट करते हैं. ठीक है, तो एक तरह से तो वो रेगुलर सैलरीड एम्प्लॉय ही कहलाएगा, है ना, क्योंकि उसका प्राइम जॉब ये है, वो बाई साइड क्या कर रहा है, घर पे प्रैक्टिस कर रहा है. ठीक है, और ये एक्सेप्शन हमको डॉक्टर के केस में मिल सकता है. इवन nowadays we see teachers also teaching in school and then teaching at coaching institutes or teaching tuitions, वो भी हो गया. बट वो प्राइमरीली क्या कहलाएंगे, रेगुलर सैलरीड एम्प्लॉय ही कहलाएंगे. वो सेल्फ एम्प्लॉयड तब कहलाएंगे जब वो किसी भी तरह के रेगुलर काम के अंदर एंगेज नहीं है, तो वो सेल्फ एम्प्लॉयड कहलाएंगे. ठीक है, बट देयर इनकम विल बी काउंटेड इन 2 वेज. उनकी सैलरी काउंट होगी और वो इनकम टैक्स जब भरेंगे तो उसमें ये भी शो रहता है कि आपने एक्स्ट्रा इनकम कहां से अर्न किया है. तो दैट एक्स्ट्रा इनकम अगर वो शो करते हैं कि मैंने क्लिनिक चला के इतना पैसा कमाया है, तो वो मिक्स्ड इनकम बाय सेल्फ एम्प्लॉयड की कैटेगरी में काउंट होती है. ठीक है, इज इट क्लियर?
Yes, sir.
नाउ रूरल वर्कर्स. ओके, हाँ यहाँ हम लोग देखते हैं डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन ऑफ एम्प्लॉयमेंट बाय रीजन. तो व्हाट वी सी हियर इज, देखो ये 3 तरह की कैटेगरी होती है. अब रूरल वर्कर में हम लोग देखते हैं कि क्या है. तो रूरल वर्कर में हमको ज्यादातर क्या चीज नजर आ रही है, मेजोरिटी में कौन नजर आ रहा है? देखो कलर से आइडेंटिफाई करो,
Self-employed.
है ना. सेल्फ एम्प्लॉयड, ये सेल्फ एम्प्लॉयड हमको ज्यादा क्यों नजर आ रहे हैं? हु आर दीस सेल्फ एम्प्लॉयड?
Agriculture.
यस,
कल्चरल वर्कर.
Farmers.
they are engaged in agriculture work. और दूसरा नंबर पे हमको कौन नजर आ रहे हैं? कैजुअल वर्कर्स. ये कैजुअल वर्कर्स कौन है?
कंस्ट्रक्शन लेबरर्स.
एग्जैक्टली, लेबर्स वर्किंग एट कंस्ट्रक्शन साइट और इन फार्म्स. कंस्ट्रक्शन एंड फार्म्स, जरूरी थोड़ी उन्हीं के खेत हैं जो काम कर रहे हैं, दूसरों के खेत पे भी तो काम कर सकते हैं. तो वो भी क्या कहलाते हैं? कैजुअल वर्कर्स का, कैजुअल लेबर्स का. और ये 9% जो है, केवल इतने ही लोग जो है वो क्या है, रेगुलर सेल्फ सैलरीड एम्प्लॉयड लोग ही. ये 9% में कौन लोग आ जाएंगे? वो लोग जो गवर्नमेंट टीचर्स हैं, या स्कूल्स में काम कर रहे हैं, या कुछ जो क्लिनिक्स वगैरह बने हैं गांव में वहां काम कर रहे हैं, या कुछ एनजीओज में काम कर रहे हैं. दिस सॉर्ट ऑफ वर्क वी कैन फाइंड फॉर देम. कुछ कुछ कंपनीज हैं जो रूरल एरियाज में काम करती है, जैसे बैंक्स हो गई रूरल एरिया में है, तो वहां काम करने वाले लोग. बट दिस रेशियो इज वेरी लेस. ज्यादातर रेशियो किसका है यहाँ पर? सेल्फ एम्प्लॉयड का है. और सेल्फ एम्प्लॉयड का ज्यादा क्यों है? बिकॉज हियर सेल्फ एम्प्लॉयड इंक्लूड्स एग्रीकल्चरल फार्मर्स ऑल्सो. ठीक है, रूरल वर्कर का क्लियर हो गया कॉन्सेप्ट?
यस सर.
नाउ सी अर्बन में हम लोग डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन जब देखते हैं तो व्हाट वी फाइंड, अर्बन के अंदर हमको क्या नजर आता है? अर्बन के अंदर देयर इज अ गुड परसेंटेज ऑफ रेगुलर सैलरीड एम्प्लॉइज. and there are also self-employed people. अब देखो ये सेल्फ एम्प्लॉयड पीपल कौन है यहाँ जो नजर आ रहे हैं हमको अर्बन एरियाज में?
बिजनेसमैन।
हाँ, ये बिजनेसमैन हो गए, ये शॉपकीपर्स हो गए, है ना, क्योंकि मार्केट भी देखते हैं ना, मार्केट कितना बड़ा है। तो अर्बन एरियाज में जितने भी लोग मार्केट में शॉप्स लेकर बैठे हुए हैं, है ना, जितने भी लोग अलग अलग जैसे आपके पेडलर्स हैं, है ना, और बिजनेस एंटिटीज हैं, वो सारे लोग क्या है आपके सेल्फ एम्प्लॉयड है। और रेगुलर सैलरीड एम्प्लॉइज हमको यहाँ पर खूब सारे नजर आते हैं, बिकॉज इन अर्बन एरियाज वी हैव अ लॉट ऑफ फैक्ट्रीज, इंडस्ट्रीज, कंपनीज एंड देयर पीपल आर वर्किंग, है ना। बहुत सारी आईटी फर्म्स हैं, कॉल सेंटर्स हैं, स्कूल्स हैं, कॉलेजेस हैं, हॉस्पिटल्स हैं। तो बहुत सारे ऐसे इंस्टीट्यूशन है जहां पर काम करने वाले लोग हमको ज्यादा नजर आते हैं। और कैजुअल वेज लेबरर्स भी है यहाँ पर, लेकिन उसका परसेंटेज थोड़ा सा क्या है यहाँ पर कम है कंपेरेटिवली। तो अर्बन एरियाज में ज्यादातर लोग कौन मिल रहे हैं? सेल्फ एम्प्लॉयड एंड रेगुलर सैलरीड एम्प्लॉइज। सो नाउ यू कैन कंपेयर, ये दोनों चार्ट को देखकर आप कंपेयर कर सकते हैं। कभी एग्जाम में क्वेश्चन जब आएगा तो वो इस तरह से क्वेश्चन आएगा कि कंपेयर करो, तो आपका सीधा कंपैरिजन क्या होगा कि रूरल एरियाज में मोस्ट ऑफ द पीपल आर सेल्फ एम्प्लॉयड because this number includes the agricultural farmers, and in rural areas regular salaried employees are less because in rural areas number of companies or number of institutions are very less, and most of the people are engaged in either in agriculture as a farmer or in agriculture as a daily wage laborers or laborers working at construction site. तो ये इसका एक्सप्लेनेशन हो जाएगा। और अर्बन एरिया का एक्सप्लेनेशन क्या हो जाएगा? रेगुलर सैलरीड एम्प्लॉयड इज हैविंग क्वाइट अ गुड नंबर ऑफ शेयर हियर, एज इन अर्बन एरियाज आर हैविंग मोर गुड एम्प्लॉयमेंट अपॉर्चुनिटीज। Okay, and self-employed people are also there because it includes a lot of people who are having their shops in market, who are having their small businesses in the market. Okay, so this is how you have to explain, okay, that you can do in your own language. Okay, is it clear? Is it clear? Say yes or no.
Yes, sir.
Now self-employed का मतलब आपको पता है, so there is no need. About 52% of workforce in India belongs to this category. और इस 52 में मेजोरिटी में कौन आ गया? फार्मर्स आ गया, है ना। ये ओवरऑल इंडिया का हो गया, इट इज नॉट अबाउट रूरल और अर्बन, इट इज ओवरऑल। ओके okay, now regular workers when we see it account only 18% of India's workforce. केवल 18% लोग जो है वो रेगुलर है, क्योंकि ये 18% में क्या चीज देख रहे थे हम लोग? 42% which was very looking very high in urban areas, but हम देखते हैं कि number of people living in rural areas is good, और वहां पर कितना था? 9% था। तो 9 और 42 का एवरेज जब निकालते हैं कंट्री लेवल पर तो इट कम्स एज 18% only. सो 52% किसका हो गया? हमारा सेल्फ एम्प्लॉयड का, और 18% किसका हो गया? हमारा रेगुलर सैलरीड एम्प्लॉइज का। And remaining ones are casual laborers, which is around 30%. तो ये जो कैजुअल लेबरर्स है ना, ये हमारे लिए थोड़ा सा चिंता का विषय है ना। वाई चिंता का विषय है? बिकॉज दे डू नॉट हैव एनी परमानेंसी इन देयर जॉब. Okay, they suffers a lot whenever any economic fluctuations comes in. Okay, and they even get very less remuneration, and there are no good labor laws for them. तो ये बहुत सारी दिक्कतें जो है वो इनके साथ में रहती है, ठीक है। So we need to reduce them, we need to send them to some formal source of earning. Now category wise when we see the structure of employment, we see in primary sector, secondary sector, and in tertiary sector when we see. So primary sector includes agriculture, mining, quarrying, constructions. Okay, this all in primary sector. Secondary sector includes manufacturing, electricity, gas, water supply, and construction in only secondary sector में लिया, that can be possible. Okay, then in tertiary sector, okay, so trade, transport, storage, service, etc. Okay, primary sector we have got 49% of people working. Main source of employment with about 49% of workforce, which is in primary sector. एंड रूरल एरिया में देखते हैं तो कितना है, प्राइमरी सेक्टर में काम करने वाले लोग 64%, एंड इन अर्बन एरियाज इट इज 7%. ओके, इज इट क्लियर? यहाँ पर कंफ्यूजन तो नहीं है, ये क्लियर होना है. ये 49% क्या है, इंडिया का टोटल वर्कफोर्स जो है वो प्राइमरी सेक्टर में काम कर रहा है, वो ये है. और जब रूरल एरियाज में देखते हैं कि रूरल एरियाज की 100 जो पॉपुलेशन है, वो 100 पॉपुलेशन में से 64% इज वर्किंग इन रूरल एरियाज. इज इट क्लियर?
Yes, sir.
ओके, एंड अर्बन एरियाज में कितनी है, 100% जो पॉपुलेशन है उसकी केवल 7% पॉपुलेशन कहाँ एंगेज है, अर्बन एरियाज में. इज इट क्लियर? जल्दी बताओ, यहाँ कंफ्यूजन रहता है क्योंकि बच्चों को, इसलिए आई नीड टू आस्क. अरे हाँ ना, कुछ
सर,
बोलो
फिर
जल्दी.
से बता दो.
हाँ, मैं यही चीज बोल रहा हूँ क्योंकि मुझे पता है यहाँ पर कंफ्यूजन होता है. देखो, हम बोल रहे हैं कि प्राइमरी सेक्टर जो है इंडिया का, इंडिया में मान लो 100% इंडिया की जो पॉपुलेशन है, तो इंडिया की 100% पॉपुलेशन का 49% कहाँ काम कर रहा है, प्राइमरी सेक्टर. ठीक है, ये इंडिया की 100% पॉपुलेशन. और रूरल एरियाज की जो 100% पॉपुलेशन है, उसके 64% लोग जो है वो कहाँ काम कर रहे हैं, प्राइमरी सेक्टर में. और अर्बन एरियाज की जो 100% पॉपुलेशन है, वो कितनी भी हो सकती है, 100% पॉपुलेशन है, वो कहाँ काम कर रही है, 100% पॉपुलेशन है, उसकी 7% पॉपुलेशन जो है वो कहाँ काम कर रही है, प्राइमरी सेक्टर. ये ऐसा है. अब बताओ, इसमें डाउट हो तो बताओ. टेल मी.
क्लियर है सर.
अब क्लियर हो गया? ठीक है, तो ये इस तरह से बताओ. इसी तरह से सिमिलरली व्हेन वी सी सर्विस सेक्टर, तो सर्विस सेक्टर की टोटल वर्कफोर्स इंडिया में कितनी है, काउंट करते जाओ. देखो, 49% किसकी आ गई थी हमारी, प्राइमरी सेक्टर की, और 27% किसकी हो गई हमारी, सर्विस सेक्टर. ठीक है, अब इसमें वापस से देखेंगे, रूरल एरियाज की जो 100% पॉपुलेशन है, उसका 15% सर्विस सेक्टर में काम कर रहा है. 64% कहाँ काम कर रहा था, प्राइमरी सेक्टर में. और 15% कहाँ काम कर रहा है, सर्विस सेक्टर. और अर्बन एरियाज में क्या हो रहा है, 60% जो है वो कहाँ काम कर रहा है, सर्विस सेक्टर में. और प्राइमरी सेक्टर में कितना था, 7%. दिस इज क्लियर? इज इट क्लियर?
यस सर.
अब सेकेंडरी सेक्टर, तीनों को जब साथ में लेकर आएंगे तो हमको समझ में आ जाएगा. तो कितना हो गया, उधर था 49 प्लस 27, और अब कितना हो गया, 24. 49 था प्राइमरी में, 27 था सेकंड सर्विस सेक्टर में, और ये कितने में आ गया आपका, सेकेंडरी सेक्टर में. टोटल काउंट कर लो कितना आता है, 100 आ रहा है क्या इसका टोटल?
यस सर.
ठीक है, अब रूरल एरियाज में कितना हो गया, ये 20%. तो कितना कितना था, सर्विस सेक्टर में काम करने वाले कितने लोग थे, रूरल एरियाज में 15% आई गेस अराउंड, और उधर था 64%, है ना. तो मोटा मोटा ये 15 या 15 पॉइंट समथिंग होगा, ये 20 पॉइंट समथिंग होगा, तो राउंड फिगर होगी, ये भी कितना हो जाएगा, 100 हो जाएगा. ठीक है, तो रूरल एरिया का क्लासिफिकेशन क्या हो गया, 20% लोग सेकेंडरी सेक्टर में है, 15% सर्विस सेक्टर में है, और 64 प्राइमरी सेक्टर में. और अर्बन एरियाज में क्या हो जाएगा, 60% था उधर, किसमें, सर्विस सेक्टर के अंदर,
60% सर्विस
इसमें
एंड
35% है, और
7%
उधर कितना है,
प्राइमरी.
7% है. ऐसा करके हो गया. तो 5% जो आ रहा है वो कहीं पॉइंट में होगा, थोड़ा 34 पॉइंट समथिंग, पॉइंट एक का जो डिफरेंस आ रहा है, इट इज इन पॉइंट्स, बिकॉज यहाँ राउंड फिगर में हमने परसेंटेज बना लिया. सो व्हाट वी सी, मेजॉरिटी में रूरल एरियाज के अंदर लोग प्राइमरी सेक्टर में इन्वॉल्व है, और शहरों के अंदर अर्बन एरियाज में मेजॉरिटी में लोग सर्विस सेक्टर में इन्वॉल्व है. ओके, अब कल इसका एक साथ ये सारा डेटा लेकर आएंगे, और उसको फिर हम लोग इंटरप्रेट करने की कोशिश करेंगे. ओके, चलो, तो आज के लिए इतना ही. कोई डाउट हो तो पूछ लो.
Thank you.
ओके, थैंक यू.